ASEAN principles challenges. Consumers in the region are demanding higher quality products and services, and present an opportunity for businesses hoping to tap growing consumer markets. Governments must help prepare young people to face demands of increasingly integrated economic regions through education and training. Solution. Sustainable solution will require innovation approaches. Issues ranging from affordable housing to low-cost quality healthcare and education call for ASEAN governments to work closely with private sectors and non-government organizations. ASEAN principles.
ASEAN organizational structure. The challenge. Due to the non interference principle, slow decision making and substance lacking in projects and proposals are a challenge caused by the lack of communication or interaction between the ASEAN pillars or organizational structures. It is evident that through the lack of interaction between all the structures that the pillar is not prioritized and that lack of resources is an inevitable. Solution for that, to solve the lack of resources, they should strengthen the EAC department and involve more divisions and stakeholders to solve the decision making, to speed up the implementation of proposals and projects to be able to respond to any needs without overstepping and violating the non interference principle.
Due to the ASEAN principle of non-interference, the member states are not provided the leeway to involve themselves with one another. Unfortunately, such an arrangement also applies to their economic dimension. The poorest ASEAN nations, such as Laos and Cambodia, experience a huge poverty and economic gap compared to rich ASEAN countries like Singapore and Thailand. Unlike an economically prosperous nation like Singapore, politically unstable countries like the Philippines and Myanmar are at danger of substandard economic performance due to the political turmoil they experience, such as corruption, and primary reliance on agricultural activities for their economy instead of business practices. However, with the limitation of the non-interference principle, the economically prosperous member states can offer their economic framework to better the economically challenged nations.
Human rights in ASEAN. Challenges. Due to the challenges and some principle of non-interference that ASEAN needs to accommodate and follows. Some nations of ASEAN are violating human rights, which makes ASEAN have a difficulty in helping the people who are affected or victims of violated human rights. The solution we think that certain actions should be addressed. Some principles shouldn't be followed if problems like violation of human rights are not solved right away. We think that principle of non-interference was made solely by each nation to serve as a foundation of trust of each other. We think that if cases of violation of human rights rises and are not dealt with right away, other countries of part of ASEAN should reach out and help. The ASEAN economy. Challenges regarding ASEAN economy that they're facing currently is the COVID pandemic in general. It affected a lot of people and people's life. Businesses are closing and economies are going down. Solution to the challenge is that strengthening their social net. Right now, they should prioritize the safety of everyone, especially right now during COVID pandemic. Everyone's life are at stake. Everyone wants to be safe, so poor transportation won't really cut it. Medical frontliners are risking their lives every day and barely surviving. That's why we think strengthening the social net is the priority right now.
ASEAN identity challenge. Due to the principle of non interference, most member nations have seen some religious extremist movements and external factors, such as China's assistance to Cambodia and others, which can violate the cultural regional identity that the principle is built into. ASEAN, however, has not done much to address the civil society and regional citizenry. The solution, aside from prioritizing the security and economy of ASEAN, all member state leaders should realize that everyone needs to be more united and make more contributions to strengthen the cultural identity of each one by having more interactions to understand how culturally diverse each one is so as to prevent confrontations regarding each citizen's culture.
One of the challenges regarding the sustainable tourism in the Southeast Asian region is the present pandemic, which is the COVID-19. As we know, tourists visiting our countries does not only affect our image but it also affects our economy. With the tourists not being able to travel, our tourism industry might be at the lowest point, especially during this pandemic. When it is already possible to travel, the industry must take the opportunity to promote our region and the countries within so that we can start rebuilding the industry right away while following the rules and protocols. There are many cultural heritage sites in ASEAN, knowing that most of our countries were colonized by the countries in the western region back then. One of the challenges is the demolition of some of the well-known heritage sites to replace it with the more profitable commercial sites. To prevent the demolition of some of the well-known heritage sites here in the ASEAN, we can convince the developers who want to replace it with a new and profitable one to reconsider and reevaluate their plan. A particular solution can be taking the Kalye Crisologo in Ilocos as an example. They kept the architecture and at the same time, they continued to boost their economy, giving the city more profits.
For the COVID-19 response challenge in the ASEAN region, statistics show that the two most populous countries in ASEAN, Philippines and Indonesia, still struggle to control the spread of the coronavirus disease. Vietnam and Singapore were able to contain the virus better than the other member states because they were able to respond at an early stage, thus effectively mitigating the spread of the virus onwards. With the limitation of the non-interference principle, concrete and effective strategies can be shared amongst member states. A solution to this problem is that the member states should formulate an agreement to repeal or at least restrict the principle of non-interference for situations like these, whereby the ASEAN principles should be modified to manage situations like this.
Territorial disputes. Challenges. The South China Sea is such an example as the sea is contested by China, Taiwan, and several Southeast Asia states, such as Vietnam, the Philippines, Malaysia, and Brunei. Central to this territorial dispute is the role of the region's international organizations called Association of Southeast Asia Nations. Solution. ASEAN is in the form of increasingly assertive China that is backed by economic and military strength, has thus exerted a strong influence over the region. This external factor has caused power asymmetrical in the region and deepens divisions amongst the ASEAN members, which further impacts the organization's ability to resolve the dispute.